All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we've got the Area 51 Indy Series tonight here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're actually running the Legacy Charlotte, so you'll notice there's no blue and white stripes on the inside. It's got the standard white stripes or white line on the inside line. So the driver's putting in their qualifying laps as we speak. And I'm noticing that some stuff is showing up on there that shouldn't be showing up, so I'll have to figure out why that's happening. However, our points positions going into tonight, you can see there Charles Teed 6 points over Henry Bennett. Matt Wagner in the third spot, only 9 out of the lead. Then a pretty big gap to Eric Schaus in fourth. However, he has been slowly but surely clawing that gap away. Then you got Craig Forsyth, Chad Wilkes, and David Payton and Benjamin Combs. And again, they're going to be racing to get to those first 8 positions are going to be the ones eligible for the playoffs this season. The three race playoffs that they'll be going on right now. This is going to be race number 6. So once we get to race number 9, that's going to lock things in for 10, 11, and 12 in the playoffs. So right now, outside looking in are Jim Brooks, Gary Corley, and Michael Spell, just a little bit out. Also same for Todd Merkel, James Ledford, Anders Arhus, and Dwight Plesh. So those are going to be some of the guys that are going to try to kind of close that gap and bring things back out here. So with that, I'll say again, like mentioned, drivers making their Q laps right now. And I think my partner in crime as well, Steve Gottschalk, I think you're putting down some laps as well with these cars. How are things looking for you?
Well, I could tell you that driving by myself is easy. It's just flat out all the way around. Now, you had mentioned when we were talking, I didn't have enough time to experience this before qualifying started, but you had mentioned that the aero push is extremely bad here. And I just, I can tell you with just a solo car, not experiencing that at all. No pushy, no looseness. Car just is extremely planted. You can put it wherever, any place on the track you want.
Yeah, so that's kind of the impression I got from some of the drivers as well, as that same situation that by itself, it's really easy to drive. It feels great. But yeah, so it sounds like once you get in that dirty air, it's going to be a whole different animal. So looks like we've kind of had a few different strategies of what you want to see tonight. So right now, it looks like we have about 18 drivers in the server here this evening. We'll see if any more join kind of at the last minute. Right now, 12 of those have taken a qualifying lap. So based on that, it looks like 6 drivers opting to start towards the back this evening. We'll see if anybody makes a late charge here at the end. But yeah, like I said, I think we're seeing a little bit of some strategy calls by these guys for tonight's race.
Trying one. Well, I was going to try one more qual. But...
Now, I'll say with that qualifying just finishes actually, so unfortunately you won't get the opportunity, Steve. However, we will in here pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. So on pole position is going to be that 007 of Henry Bennett. Next to him, our points leader going into tonight, Charles Teed. We're going to talk about how close the points gap is between those two. Say Craig Forsyth in that third spot. Say Craig again, he's able to use his pedals against a huge break for him. I know he's looking forward to that. And you got Michael Spell in fourth, David Payton fifth, Todd Merkel, Jimmy Drynan, and Anders Arhus in 7th and 8th. Then 9th through 16th, you've got Alec Coates, Benjamin Combs, Chad Wilkes, Bud Steele. And those first drivers that did not make a qualifying lap, you got James Ledford, Eric Schaus, Dwight Plesh, and Jim Brooks, as well as Gary Corley and Ivan Pla. So say we'll have to see what's going to be like tonight. Again, Steve, 100 laps is the race distance tonight. Remember, there is no green-white checkered on the Indy Series. They mimic the IndyCar Series and how they do things. So 100 laps will be the distance for tonight's event. Fuel window is definitely, it can be done in 2 stops. It sounds like it's in the low to mid 30 range, depending on the drafting and all that. And so I think with, like we talked about this draft package, I think there's going to be a lot of off throttle time with these cars. So I would expect to see, of course, depending how this race goes, I think under green flag conditions, though, I think we could definitely see a 2-stop race.
So here's an interesting thing that I'm noticing. Now that we're back to one of the fast tracks, the ones where you don't have to use brakes or shift or anything like that, we're back with Henry Bennett on the pole and Charles Teed on the outside. I think this is likely going to be a Charles Teed kind of race.
He'll definitely be hoping for it. Say he's definitely has his strategies that he wants to do this evening. Say I talked to him a little bit pre-race, and so say the main thing on his mind is bonus points. It sounds like the wins will carry 5 bonus points into the playoffs. So say with that, say Charles with those 3 wins to start the season, he's got 15 going into it. And say with the other drivers having a win each, that'd give them about 5 with Matt Wagner and with Henry Bennett. So let's say right now what Charles' plan is to do is to try to see if he can get another set of bonus points for himself in that playoff picture here, or ideally see if he can take some bonus points away from some of his competition. Like I said, try to maybe avoid Henry getting a win, see if he can find a way to maybe see if he can help out kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing. So I think that's going to be kind of the strategy for that 5 of Charles Teed here.
So can you review those points again?
Alright, Ken, let me get them up here right now. So I won't put them up on screen because we're about to get going, but I'll get it up and running ready for us to discuss. And so right now it's a 6-point gap between Charles Teed and Henry Bennett. Matt Wagner 9 points out of the lead. However, Matt not here this evening, so he's going to drop a fair bit as we're waiting for that green flag to fly, and it is out. And we are underway here at Charlotte. 100 laps is our scheduled race distance.
Craig Forsyth quickly under Charles Teed into second place.
Yeah, Craig with a big start there on that initial start here. He's going to get that second spot. Also looks like 38 David Payton's going to try to do the same. I say right now it looks like about the top 5 with a big breakaway from that 6th place of Todd Merkel here. But I say right now though that 5 of Charles Teed not where he wanted to be there. He wanted to make sure he got to the inside line. So it looks like he just about might be able to get it now. He's going to squeeze in front of that 99 of Jimmy Drynan as he hits turn 1 here for the second time. So you can see though we talked about that gap between the top 5 and from 6 on back, and I say that gap's already gone. So right now the top 3 have kind of snuck away here, which has now left Charles Teed having to try to fight off from the back that number 99 we just mentioned of him, Jimmy Drynan. So this is where Charles has to kind of make that decision of risk versus reward. You can see he's going to roll out of it here, let that 99 go on by, and he's going to fall in line here and see if he can kind of just try to find a nice little calm pocket to race in. And I think from what I'm seeing here early, Steve, as well, a lot of these drivers are kind of in that same mindset because right now we got pretty good distances between all these drivers here. Not really getting that big pack like we talked about possibly having here. Oh, as I say, that caution is out. Michael Spell is around. Looks like some pretty heavy damage to his car here. Front wing is gone, rear wing's damaged, and looks like suspension damage as well. And I think the 75 Ivan Plot also involved in this one. So he's trying to limp that thing back to the pits. Looks like he won't be able to do so. So he's going to have to take a tow, unfortunately. So let's go see what happened to these two. So we'll take a look. Looks like the 88 is in front of that 75. And it looks like, I think this might be that aero wash we just talked about here. You can see he's kind of behind the 76 of Jim Brooks. And just it does not look like that car wants to turn here. You can see it just keeps washing up. Then yeah, it just catches the outside wall, and then unfortunately slides up into the slides up. He's able to get it hung onto, but then unfortunately Ivan just the closing rate too fast for him. 75 gets into the back of the 88, so that's where the front and rear damage happened for him. And you see Ivan also takes a pretty big shot to that outside wall, I should say. So yeah, unfortunately not what either of those guys were looking for. And it looks like I think they both actually may have had to take a tow there.
Yeah, I'm watching Michael Spell, and it looks like he can't even get that car to go in a straight line. Just keeps hooking to the right. Yeah,
so say they're both in the pits taking their tow, which is going to put them both a lap down here. Pretty much everybody stays out except for 2 drivers, the 48 of James Ledford, the 44 of Dwight Plesh. So they were towards the back of the field anyway, so they're going to go ahead and get a little bit extra fuel in their cars. Probably about maybe 5 laps or so extra fuel for them. So, I mean, I'd be doing the exact same thing if I was them. So I like the call there from those guys. But, yes, I mean, up front, say still going to be that 007, though. Henry Bennett leading the way here, Steve. And say not a ton, obviously, of laps there to start things off, but some of the bigger movers right away off the bat. Jimmy Drynan from 7th to 4th, and then Chad Wilkson at 17 car from 11th to 7th. So I think, as I said, we've seen Chad. He's been on a pretty decent roll these last few weeks, especially once that road course at Road Atlanta, like I said, everybody kind of had him penciled in there for one to watch. Able to do similar as well at Phoenix. So we'll see if he's able to kind of continue the trend, because he's talking about these tracks aren't really his strong point. So we'll see if he's been able to kind of learn and improve as the season's progressed.
He certainly got a lot more motivation after the way he's performed the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and actually, I was saying now we can actually, while we have some time, we'll bring up those standings you're talking about. So right now, Charles Teed right now lead in points, 6 over Henry Bennett, 9 over Matt Wagner. We mentioned Matt not here tonight, though, so that's going to drop Matt a fair bit back. Eric Schaus, 45 out of the lead. And then, so we got a pretty close gap between the rest of those guys. So Craig Forsyth, 63 out, 66 for Chad Wilkes, 69 for Benjamin Combs. For David Payton, apologies. And then for that last spot right now between Benjamin Combs and Jim Brooks, it's 83 points out of lead versus 92. So right now just a 9-point swing between 8th and 9th for that final spot. But again, we still have a handful of races to go before we get to that point. So I don't think drivers are going to be too stressed out about this as of yet.
And are there playoffs in this league?
Yes, this will be the first season they're going to be doing playoffs, and so for that, so after tonight we're going to run Milwaukee Mile next week, followed by Sonoma. Again, I'm sure it's going to be one that some of these drivers are going to have circled. Others are going to have a big X through it because they're not going to be happy about it. And then after Sonoma will be Kentucky being the final race of the regular season. And then we're going to have the top 8 will be battling it out at Dover and Homestead, and the top 4 of those drivers will be in that final championship race at Texas.
Okay, so with the kind of lead that Charles Teed and Henry Bennett are going to have after this race, assuming that they both do well, I think that the mentality for those two is going to be just protecting their position in the top 8. Especially if you're Charles Teed right now, you're sitting there in 5th place, and it looks like he's kind of struggling with the aero push. So he's. I know if I'm him, there's this battle that's going on in your head. Like, I really don't want to lose the points lead, but on the other hand, I don't want to push so hard to try and keep the points lead that I mess up my ability to stay well within the top 8.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Like I said, I mean, I talk about this all the time, that risk versus reward, and once he gets a little closer, I feel like once he's probably officially locked in, that's where then you go full send. You go off strategy, you try to get the wins. Whether it's a win versus getting a 15th place finish, it doesn't matter because it's not going to affect you come chase time, regardless. I don't know if there's any bonus point for the overall playoff or the overall leader going into the playoffs. That might be something to check in for future races, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that as the pace car is about to head in. It's going to hand it over to Henry Bennett here. Again, it's up to Henry when he wants to go, and he is down and away. So he gets a little bit of a gap here to start things off, but again, as we know with this draft package, Craig Forsyth definitely going to be reeling him in back here probably by about turn number 3. And do need to mention Michael and Ivan are back on track. Both are 2 laps down at the moment, so they'll be fighting for that lucky dog position. Whichever one's ahead of the other will obviously have that big break, because then they'll most likely be eligible for that following one as well.
And so far up front, this is looking a lot like what we saw in the first run.
Yeah, initial start, yeah, you're right, Steve. Top 4 breakaway. I say Charles T kind of falling back again here. So now under pressure from that 81 of Todd Merkel. Right behind him is that 17 of Chad Wilkes. So I don't know. I mean, I say this might be a plan by Charles here to try to save his stuff a little bit until later on in the run, or maybe just trying to drop back far enough to keep that clean air on the nose. But then when you always have somebody right on that rear wing of you, I mean, at least for me, I'd be feeling pretty nervous in that position.
Yeah, I would too.
Oh, as I said, a little bit of contact between himself and the 81. Not sure if it was net code or not, but Todd Merkel takes a big shot to the outside wall. Still kept it straight, so right now we're going to stay green. I don't know if he's going to be able to limp that back to the pits here, Steve. But we were watching as it happened, and yeah, just unfortunately looked like the 5 car just kind of drifted up a little bit. I'll say Todd does get it down to the inside line. He's still trying to keep the speed up. He can't do it. He's going to have to stop here, I think, and try to take a tow. Actually, as I said, he's able to get the car rolling again, so might try to limp this thing back to the pits, but unfortunately, I said still under green. So right now, I'll say we stay under green flag conditions here with those top 4 still within pretty close proximity.
That's pretty rough when that happens and the yellow doesn't come out.
Yeah, you're never happy when that does come to hurt you sometimes. And I think Charles is going to get away with that, but just because of the fact that I think that was a little bit of net code as well. I mean, we did see that car washing up a bit, but like I mentioned, I think usually that inside car is able to get away with that pretty well. So one thing this does do is it gives Charles a little bit of breathing room between himself and Chad Wilkes. But I did see a little bit of a battle attempt going on there right behind them. Anders Arhus in that 10 car, he's in that 7th position. And then right behind him, one of the drivers we've talked about a lot recently, that 37 of Alec Coates, he's in that 8th spot, and saying he was trying to put a move on a little earlier, saw in the background there, but was not quite able to complete the pass.
And I was kind of concerned as to whether Charles Feed might have picked up some damage there, but it seems like he's able to hang on to about the same gap, maybe even closing it a teeny bit to the lead 4 cars.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to play it safe right now. Right now the top 3, though, really close together, so we'll go back to focus on them. Do need to mention the 81 Todd Merkel. He is back out on track. Unfortunately, 3 laps down after having to limp that thing back to the pits and get going again. So he's going to be having to hope for some breaks to go his way. What I'm watching right now is Craig Forsyth. I kind of was thinking Craig might try to use the draft and make something happen and get a lap lead in that 27 car. But I think right now, Craig's just using strategy right here. You can see he's kind of doing a big arc through 3 and 4 there. And I think what he's doing here, right now using that draft, same thing for David Payton. I think these guys might be just thinking fuel save right now at this point in the race.
Yeah, I think so. And probably also, taking different lines to try and deal with that aero push.
And unfortunately, just noticed Michael Spell back in the pits, and looks like more damage to that 88 machine. So I think, unfortunately, that might be it for him this evening. We'll see if they're able to repair that car, but and looks like might be an early exit for him tonight. Which I'll say that'll kind of put Ivan, the 75 car, Ivan Pla, in a pretty good spot here, because now he's the only car 2 down, and so now he just needs to keep this car clean. And you can see he's kind of rolled off the back of the pack here as well, Steve, to make sure he stays in a safe spot. Gonna hop on board with David Payton right now. He's got a pretty good view of this fight in front of him. So these 3 have actually separated themselves a little bit from Jimmy Dryden. Jimmy's fallen back about a second back, and as I say, that caution now is out. And I'm trying to catch where now. Oh, I think it's gonna be the 81 of Todd Merkel. Oh yeah, big hit for the 81, and that's definitely gonna be the end of his evening. So he's out by the pit exit actually here. Let's see what happened to Todd. Coming out of turn number 4. Oh yeah,
I think he caught the grass.
Oh, just barely touched the grass with those right side tires, and unfortunately just went for a ride. Oh man, that's a brutal hit to that left side of that car, and unfortunately that's what brought out the yellow there. So unfortunately, I think for Michael Spell, Todd Merkel, that's going to be a short evening for the both of them. However, like I was talking about Ivan Pla, it's going to be a big break for him, as this is going to get him from 2 down to 1 down, as again he was the only car that wasn't on the lead lap there, that wasn't involved or in the pits there. So unfortunate breaks for Todd Merkel, Michael Spell, but huge break there for Ivan Pla. And I think we're going to definitely see pit stops this time around, and I might be getting proven wrong. Ooh, saw a couple guys get right on that orange cone. I'm not sure if that's the commit cone or not, or if it's that inside cone earlier. So I'm curious to keep an eye on that one, if that's an issue or not. But we do have one to stay out here. That's going to be that 6 of Bud Steele. Bud always loving to put some pit strategy going on.
And I'm going to assume that everybody's taking tires here.
Yeah, it looks like tires and fuel for all the drivers here. Looks like top 3 going to stay in the same position. Looks like pretty much the whole front of the field here going to pretty much come right in, or come out where they came in. Obviously the gambler right now is going to be that 6 of Bud Steele. And saying, if you have a driver that's going to gamble, it's going to be Bud Steele. So this is kind of what he does. Loves to go off strategy, and more often than not, it actually really seems to work for him as well. So he did not pit under that first yellow, so he's still yet to make his pit stop. I'll say the ones I was curious about who might try that strategy as well would have been that 44 and the 48, but they went in as well there. So and actually looking at the pit stops, a little bit of a longer stop for both James and Dwight. So I wonder maybe a front wing repair having to be done to those cars.
For Bud Steele, I mean, if he can get out there and keep the clean air, he's going to make it tough for the guys that had been leading to get past him. And I think as long as he can get a timely caution, that this could work out in his favor.
Yeah, saying that's the thing is Bud does love going after that kind of stuff. So we'll keep an eye on. The other thing, Steve, this will give us that kind of the comparison of clean air versus tires here. Say again, Bud's going to be lighter on fuel. He's going to have about 20 laps less fuel, but he's going to have 20 lap older tires. So that's going to be pretty fun to see. And I'm peeking in the chat here to say, looks like unfortunately Matt was not able to make it back. Not able to make it back from work. It looks like in time. So unfortunately that didn't quite go to plan for him, but definitely look forward to catching again. And say unfortunately missing the race is not ideal, but I think with the pace that he's had, I think he'll be okay to hold on to that top 8 position.
Yeah, that's a bummer though. We miss you, Matt. He definitely would have been up contending with these guys for the lead.
Oh, apparently not work. So he's keeping us up to date here. Maybe we'll steal him in the booth here a little later on if we have the opportunity. So I know he's also a big part of this Indy series on just trying to make sure these setups are nice and racy for all these drivers. So it's really cool the extra time and effort he puts into all these events here. So looks like we got the 1 to green here, and then we also did have a mention from Nick Watanabe. Anders Arhus fan, or I say Anders still right where he started here in that 8th position. So he's got that green and black machine. Kind of almost just a flip scheme of that 65 of Gary Corley. So he's got that kind of the black and bright green scheme. Anders got the bright green and black, and I think they actually might be both Patron sponsored. Yeah, they both are Tequila Patron cars. So not sure if that's planned or by accident, but so they got some competition or cooperation, I guess I should say, on the sponsor side of things.
For people that are fairly new to the series, one of the things that they give bonus points for is the most positions gained. And typically in these on these faster tracks, we've seen people gain a lot of spots fairly quickly and be like, at this point in the race, be 10 or 12 spots ahead of where they started. I'm noticing that the most spots gained seems to be a several-way tie for only 4 spots.
Yeah, saying as we say that, Bud Steele, he jumps off and is away. Except for Bud Steele, he's the one that's got the highest gainer, but again, he's not on cycle with everybody else. But again, we don't know how the rest of this race is going to go. We're restarting here with 77 to go here, so just at about quarter distance, even with those couple of cautions here early on. As you can see, Bud right now running the kind of that low line there initially and down the back stretch, trying to break that draft immediately. And I think now is going to be the fight to see who can be up there in that battle with him. You always want to be that first car with those fresher tires in this situation. And we got some more insider info on Anders to say he's got those colors on his paint scheme on his car because he's a Seattle Sounders fan. So that's where the bright green comes into play. I think that's actually, the bright green also pretty common. CL Seahawks as well, I believe, use that pretty bright green color on their stuff as well. So, so it's always fun to see where the inspiration for paint schemes and such come from for the various drivers.
Definitely.
But right now, Bud Steele, those older tires, but the clean air, the clean air's paying off. That car's light and it's gonna still be pretty sporty. Because I did talk to Todd Merkel, unfortunately, one of those that had the early troubles. He said he did make a full fuel run at the beginning of practice by himself, but he said that car just drove perfectly in clean air. So I think that might be something that Bud also was able to realize that, hey, this thing up front, it's good. And if it's light on fuel too, it's going to be even harder for Anders to use that draft to catch up. And so it's just going to kind of make Anders have to work just a little bit harder to try to get back to that front here. Actually, I must have missed something because we just talked about Gary Corley, and he's not too far from going a lap down, Steve. I'm not sure. I think he may have had a moment that he had to try to recover that car. So I'll try to see if I can get an opportunity to go back and take a look at it here. I'm trying to keep an eye on this front battle. Actually, these guys are spread out just a little bit. So I don't want to show anything bad, Gary, but figure we need to see what happened to you.
Yeah, I'll give you a shout if anything changes up front, but I think people are pretty much just staying in their spots.
So we're taking a look. We're watching Gary Corley here as he comes out of turn number 4. And oh, it just snaps on him off of 4. And so he has to do a little bit of lawn mowing here, but and some off-roading as well. But oh my goodness, somehow kept it off. If you ever get the chance to look at that, Steve, he was inches from the inside wall, but able to hang on to it. So it does loop it around a little bit as he was getting back on the apron there, but able to hang on to it. So amazing driving there by that 65 of Gary Corley. And actually is able to kind of regroup and running pretty decent lap times again. Actually about almost a tenth quicker than the 6 of Bud Steele last time by. So right now actually not really, still in danger, of course, of getting a lap, but right now running the lap times he needs to stay out of trouble.
Could you tell what made the car snap? Did he hit the apron or?
No, he was right on the square on the line. The car just snapped around on him. So yeah, maybe we'll get the opportunity to talk to him. Maybe if we can get a top 3 finish from him tonight, see if we can find out about that, or maybe some of the other drivers experience it as well. But right now, everybody's kind of spread out just a little bit right now. David Payton, I think, is putting the most pressure of anybody on right now. That's to the 27 of Craig Forsyth here. This is for that 3rd position. So. Right now, again, though, Bud Steele using that pit strategy to kind of its full effect right here.
I'm noticing, let's see, Chad Wilkes got past Charles T. And he's run these guys down up front.
Oh, Andre's got some extra pressure as well tonight, Steve. Mom's watching this evening. So still holding on in the 8th position. We've talked about him a lot in the few races that he's done with this series, and he's had a lot of speed here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him make his way towards the front here. One thing we have noticed for him, he's had the speed, just hasn't had the luck in some of these races. So it'll be fun to see if he can kind of put it all together, because I think that's really all he's been missing in this season thus far.
Yeah, he's had a couple races where it looked like he really had a chance to win. He was one of the fastest cars on the track, and things just went bad.
Yeah, right now he is right behind our championship leader, that number 5 of Charles Teed. So you wonder, we talked about how Charles has been kind of just feel like he's been kind of babying that car a little bit, either not comfortable or just really trying to play it safe here early on. Maybe even trying some fuel strategies in that 5 car. So you almost wonder if Honors is able to kind of realize that's where you maybe get the opportunity to put a little bit of extra pressure on that 5 and see if maybe make him kind of okay, normally he might fight you for it, but with that championship battle, make sure he stays in that top 8. Maybe he rolls out of it and gets you that spot, almost a little bit freebie, if you will. So
how many laps were you told that these guys could go on fuel?
The fuel window is in the, I think, mid-30s or so. So I was thinking about that with Bud Steele. We've had the 2 cautions, so I feel like Bud could probably safely run to about lap 40 or so before he has to make a pit stop. But with that, and I'm trying to do the math as well for those that pitted that last time by. Could they make this on one more stop, or would they still be stuck on a 2-stopper as well? That's some of the calculations these guys have to be spot on with to make the right call. And again, that might be some of the strategies some of these guys are doing. It's hey, if I roll out of it, save a little bit of fuel here, I might be able to one-stop this thing to the end. So we'll see if that kind of comes into play for anybody. But right now, though, Bud Steele doing everything he needs to do. Also looking around the 37 Alec Coates, he's starting to put a little bit of pressure on Jim Brooks here. These guys are in 12th and 11th and 12th, I should say. Jim's gone from 16th to 11th so far in this one. He was another one of those guys that was kind of not feeling the most comfortable with everything, especially in the draft. So I think he was kind of just playing it easy to start off with. We'll jump back a little further forward, because I think Honors is starting to put more pressure on that 5 car here. But also coming, as I said, he gets a little loose off of 4 there. Oh, actually, I see some smoke. Caution is out. I think that was, it's the 99 of Jimmy Dryden. I think he just went for a solo spin there, Steve. We talked about the pit strategy. This is going to be the exact break that Bud Steele is looking for.
Yeah, this couldn't have worked out any better for him.
Just like he screwed up.
Everyone's going to have to pit, most likely.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. No, I think there's no question everybody's going to be pitting here. So we'll come out here, we'll take a look to see what happened to Jimmy coming off of 4, and I think it's going to be exactly what we saw earlier for Gary Corley. Yeah, that car just steps out. He was right in the groove, Steve, but just steps out on him off of turn number 4, and he, same thing, does a little bit of lawn mowing. Try to get back on the track, but that transition between the grass and the asphalt spun him back around there. But just really does a nice little 360, gets back, grabs the gear, and gets going again. So I say, other than probably needing a change of pants, I think Jimmy's going to get away with this one.
I would love to know what's caused that for those two guys, because with all the struggling that they're doing with aero push, I mean, sometimes you get a push loose thing where, the car is pushing so much out towards the wall that you have to steer too much to the left, and then all of a sudden the car grabs when you're coming off the turn and the back end comes around. But this didn't look like a push loose. So, I wonder whether he made a big change to the weight distribution or those bars that you could mess with, because you can definitely loosen these cars up from within the cockpit while you're racing.
Yeah, you're very right about that. I actually noticed I didn't show the replay there, so I went back and pulled it up now while the driver's making their pit stops here. So I'll say we'll take a look to see who's going to win that battle off of pit road. And it looks like it's going to be Henry Bennett going to win that race back off of pit road here. And we're going to get some insider insight here, Steve, because I'm going to drag in Matt Wagner. Unfortunately, I said Matt not able to make it to the race this evening. However, is kind enough to join us here tonight. So I know, Matt, you're kind of integral in helping out with the setups for the league here. Steve and I kind of have questions. We see a few drivers now, a couple times now, snapping off of turn number 4 on the exit. Is that something you encountered as well during practicing with this setup, or say any insight on what might be causing that?
Yes. Yeah, it's mostly to do with the heat in the tires. These guys been pushing the car very hard in the draft. Once that right rear reaches about 270, 260 degrees on the right rear, you will start to lose it on the back end. So I gave a warning to put these jackers on negative so it would counter that. And the way the banking is off of 3 and 4, it's just like Homestead. Like that one time at Homestead, remember we had that little bobble we had, and everybody kept losing it off of, what was it, 2? I think it was turn 2. It's pretty much the same thing, the banking.
Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like you said, tire temperatures coming into play. And say, I know that sounded like there was some mention about maybe you're interested in trying to run this one at night, possibly this evening. Was that part of the reason why I try to keep that track temp down to help those tire temps?
That is without a doubt. I would love to run this track at night. Turn 3 and 4, it's a lot tighter than 1 and 2. So you're going to have to really put more wheel into 3 and 4. Yeah, it's a challenge, and I know these guys can do it.
Yeah,
it's interesting because we noticed early on we had, I think, 1 or 2 people that pushed so badly off of turn 4 that they hit the wall coming off.
Yeah,
and that actually caused the first caution. So it seems like there's kind of a fine line between, recognizing whether your car is going to push into the wall or you've heated up the right rear tire so much that you're going to spin out coming off the turn.
It will give you a warning. If you try not to put too much wheel into it, I'm sure, Steve, you came out and do a few practice laps with that?
I did, but I didn't get enough, and I didn't get any in traffic.
Usually, here's a warning. If you're about, let's just say right where Craig is at in 3rd place. By the way, he's my favorite to win. Generally, your warning will go off about 3 gallons of fuel left. That's when I would start getting a little bit scared. So about 4 gallons of fuel, I would put that jacker on the negative just to be on the safe side.
All right, we'll have to keep an eye on that. I think we're about to get going back to green. So, Matt, sorry you couldn't make it tonight, but appreciate you joining us here. So maybe we'll pull you back in here, get a few more expertise later on in this one.
No, I'm enjoying. I love watching the action here. This is great. Greg, I know you can pull it off, buddy.
All right, so with that, Henry Bennett takes the restart here. 56 to go, Steve. I think this will put us right in that window where they can make it on one stop to the end from here. Let's say now the question is going to be, if we do go green, when is that fuel strategy going to be? And actually, I'm going to jump back because we've got a big group of cars here. You see Eric Schaus there up on the top side. You got the 10 on Anders Arhus on the inside. You got the 77 here as well of Benjamin Combs, Jim Brooks right there. Also the 65 of David Payton is back in this mix. Sorry, Gary Corley, wrong driver. But yeah, these guys are, I say something must have happened on the restart because they fell back a fair bit, and I mean they're looking like they're pretty aggressive to try to get some of that track position back there.
So I think I know why Bud Steele did not come out first. If you think about it, he hadn't pitted since the beginning of the race. He needed to fill his tank completely. All these other guys had, 10 or 15 laps on their tires, so they needed a lot less fuel.
Yeah, you're definitely right, Steve. I think that 6 car probably a little bit of a longer pit stop, and then also, I mean, you think about the qualifying positions. If you're Henry Bennett, I mean, you just got to pretty much drop a gear and just kind of try to hammer it out of the pits there, and you'll be able to kind of hopefully roll out with that with the lead here. That's kind of the benefit of what we've seen before with that number 1 pit stall. So that being said, though, I'll say we've got David Payton now up in second. And I say you can see David is definitely not just going to ride here easily. You can see he's definitely trying to find a groove to, I think, get that momentum. And we talked about to see if he can put a pass on that 007 of Henry Bennett.
Yep, I think so. I don't know if he's actually going to pass him here, but I think he's trying to figure out, when it gets closer to the end, how am I going to get by?
Exactly right. I say figure out what you can do. As you can see again, Henry's going to protect the inside line, so David's going to jump up top here. You can see just gets to pretty much the rear wing of that 007. And then he's going to kind of arc it down off of 3, grab it, and try to grab that toe back and see what he can do here. Unfortunately, I do see the 65 Gary Corley actually in the pits here, so we'll take a quick look to see what happened to Gary in the pits here. Don't know if he has any damage or not. May have just slid into the pit stall. Let me take a look here. So he was one of those ones that did that off-road excursion a little earlier. And I think he may have just got bit by it again here. Watch off of turn number 4. Oh, this time, no, catches the wall off of 4 and then goes for a wild ride and actually just kind of slides into the pits here. And then I think was able to actually just kind of grab straight to his pit box there right away. Unfortunately, say Gary not having the evening he was looking for. So we'll jump back up front, though, because, again, these guys are not giving up for this. I say right now, David Payton not giving up for this fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's been trying all different kind of stuff on here. He's definitely got a faster line going through 3 and 4 on the high line that allows him to get a run on Henry Bennett down the back straight. But I think he hasn't quite figured out how to be able to use that in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think also at this point in the race, he's probably not going to show his entire hand here. I think what he's doing is he's just kind of bringing the pressure up a little bit. Maybe also trying to make Henry start using his stuff a little bit more, kind of keep him pinned to that white line like we've been seeing. What this has done, though, is it's brought Craig Forsyth. He's starting to close in on this battle as well. So you can see one thing I have noticed is everybody's running a little bit of different gear here. We've seen the 38 kind of bouncing between 5th and 6th. Craig Forsyth actually was just kind of cruising in 5th gear that whole way. But you could see that last time by Craig really had to roll out of the throttle not to get that aero push we had just talked about.
Got a really good battle going on here between Chad Wilkes and Bud Steele. It looks like Chad may have just gotten by. Yes,
yeah, I was like, just caught the very end of it. Chad was able to get to the inside of Bud there. I think that might be the move that you have to do, Steve. Is we can go back and try to take a quick look at what he did to make that pass happen. But I think you got to get to that inside line, maybe kind of up. Actually, as I said, a caution is out. And actually, it looks like the 37 of Alec Coates is going to be that caution. So we're going to go look at it. Caution came out, so let's go look at that instead here, see what happened to Alec. His car's still rolling, so I think he might be able to get away with this as well. Let's say this looks like 3 and 4 again here, Steve. This is kind of going to be the trouble turn. He's a little bit behind Eric Schaus here. And we'll see. Yeah, again, just snaps around on him right on the exit. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. But I think it might just be that pushing loose situation that we've seen before as well a little bit. We've definitely seen that with the Cup cars. But you can even see the marks on the grass where other cars have done the exact same thing. But Alec, though, it does a really good job, also able to loop it back around, get it back on track here safely. So he's not going to lose anything as well, just a little bit of track position. So It's going to give an opportunity. Now is going to be a question here, Steve. Again, nobody's in the fuel window to make it to the end. But what's more important right now, track position or possibly being able to stretch it a little bit further on fuel? So we're going to see, they're going to see some fakes. Oh, some big fakes there. But I think they're going to get away with those fakes because I think the yellow cone, the cone actually is I think where the pit entry is. So as we see, Eric Schaus going to be the first of those leaders to pit along with Jim Brooks, James Ledford, Dwight Plush, and of course Alec Coates as well. I think this is going to be the break for Ivan Pla. Ivan's going to be able to get his wave around, get back on the lead lap. And I do need to mention as well, Steve, Michael Spell, he was actually able to get his car repaired. He's still on track here. He's 8 laps down. Unfortunately, it looks like Gary Corley has retired from the event this evening. So Michael Spell actually will, next time around, he should be able to grab one more spot from Gary. But say if everybody else stays on the lead lap, though, Michael's going to be able to start getting the rest of these wave rounds. So hats off to Michael. Say not giving up, but say always gonna stick with it. Not the way you wanted your race to start, but say always appreciate the kind of the dedication to try to make it all the way through these.
And I would say on Eric Schaus pitting there, we know that Eric Schaus is extremely good with playing with the fuel mileage game. So
that's a really good point. Because I say so right now we're 44 to go. I don't know if we're gonna get the 1 to go this time. I think it'll be next time actually. So I mean we'll be restarting this with I believe 41 to go. There's also of course the opportunity to maybe top off on the 1 to go as well. As you see Michael Spell, so he's lapped down, so he's pitting here. And sure enough, yeah, it's not 1 to go yet. So and actually Charles Teed, he pits a little bit off sequence here. I think maybe seeing what Eric was doing there. So I think Charles might be thinking fuel save as well in that number 5 car.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. And considering where they were relative to each other, Eric Schaus was still quite a ways back. I would say that this is an indicator that Charles Teed doesn't feel that he's able to save tires or do whatever he needs to do to compete with these guys up front. So I think he's going to try and do it on fuel.
Yeah, I mean I'm all on board with that strategy here. It's going to be tough to make it from here. I don't think they can do it, but if you get the cautions you need, that could get you to those. Again, I think the fuel window, again, I think it's in the mid 30s, I want to say, and of course you could save a lot more in that draft. What I'm going to be watching for is anybody top off here on the 1 to go. One thing I'm going to mention, Steve, check out the apron. Who's rolling down there?
It's got to be Eric Schaus.
You are spot on, Steve. So Eric doing the apron ride here. We'll see if anybody's going to top off here. So that would be the other strategy if you really want to try to make it to the end. Maybe top off on the 1 to go. We have 2 takers. The 44 Dwight Plush is in along with that 5 of Charles Teed. He's going to do the same thing as we just get the 1 to green here. So the lights are off on the pace car. One driver actually surprisingly, Ivan Pla, he did not pit there, Steve. I'll say so he's actually going to be in the same situation as some of the leaders there that did not pit from Jimmy Drynan in the 99 on forward. So the STP 99 machine on up, those guys did not pit. Eric Schaus, the first of those to hit the pit road with Jim Brooks right behind him, James Ledford as well, and Alec Coates. And then we're going to have Dwight Plush and Charles Teed being the drivers that topped off on this 1 to go.
Yep, when you've already put yourself that far back, there's no reason not to go back in and top off.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well say you can obviously be a little bit ginger on the throttle, make sure you don't abuse it too much. And of course, I mean, this is going to be taking into account potential yellows. I mean, if you, let's say you get a 10-lap run in, that might be where the leaders pit. You stay out, you keep that clean air. So this strategy is really starting to unfold here as we're going to restart this one, Steve, with 41 to go, which is going to be right on that outer edge of this fuel window, depending on how they can save as Henry Bennett rolls them off.
Yeah, I think that they could probably do it. If there's one more caution, I think those guys that topped off can make it.
Yeah, it'll be kind of nip and tuck, but I like the strategy. As when we talked about Charles, it just didn't seem like he had the comfort that he's been looking for. So I think right now he's going to maybe try to pull a little bit of a rabbit out of a hat, if you will, as Craig Forsyth. He's going to try to move to the inside of that 38 of David Payton, try to see if he can grab that second spot, as we say, while the going is good here early.
I'm trying to remember how many laps it was that Bud Steele went, before that yellow came out? Because I mean, he wasn't going to pit under green.
I think it was about 40 laps at least since it showed his pit stops. I think it was around lap 40. I want to say was that first yellow, or sorry, not the first yellow, but when he finally made his pit stop. So, and that was, I believe, with 2 cautions. So yeah, so I mean, we know he can. I think you can at least go 40 with those 2 yellows, but we don't know how much further he could have even possibly gone. Speaking of Bud, he's still in that top 5 in that 6 car. So again, that pit strategy paying off very well for him. However, up front, say these top 4 have kind of snuck away. Craig Forsyth was able to grab that 2nd spot, Steve, here. And now you got the 17 of Chad Wilkes fighting with the 38 of David Payton. So we saw David going after lead earlier. Wasn't able to make anything of it yet, but now he's going to fall back to 4th here. So now the question is going to be, can Craig do something with our race leader, Henry Bennett?
And I wonder with David if if he's just trying to save fuel a little bit right now, or if he's struggling with whatever changes he's either made to his setup or changes in the track.
Yeah, because it does seem like he's rolling back a little bit. You're right.
He was really, I mean, he was challenging for the lead not long ago.
Yeah, so now Bud Steele actually attacking him here. This is for the 4th spot, Bud on the outside, and you got David on the inside here. And I think Bud might be able to complete this pass if he can keep the momentum up. So yeah, it looks like Bud's going to grab that spot. And I'll say not too far behind them. We talked about him a little bit earlier as well. Anders Arhus, he's up into that 6th spot, so he's been able to make his way back forward as well from his 8th position. So yeah, right now, and right now the first of those that pitted, Eric Schaus, he is in the 9th spot on the track. Still got Jim Brooks right behind him as well, James Ledford, Alec Coates. So these are the drivers that topped off on that one to go. Charles Teed, or sorry, not topped, pit under the yellow. Charles Teed, he topped off on the one to go. He's right behind them, just a couple of tenths back as well. So he's right with this group as well.
And David Payton is not wanting to give up the spot to Bud Steele. The 2 of them are fighting really hard for that position right now.
Still somehow side by side, right? So let's actually hop on board with that 10 of Anders Arhus. So he's got the perfect view for this battle here. The problem for Anders is now he's got dirty air from both lines. So where do you put your car in this situation? You see he does right there. You see the 38 right on the white line, the 6 to the wall. So where's Anders run? He runs right in the middle, try to find anywhere to put some clean air on the nose of that car.
Yep. And he's doing it again.
Yeah, I heard him. You hear him there lift out of the throttle just a little bit, Steve. You can say I think still caught a little bit of that aero wash, and saying that's unfortunate what you run into. And what that's done though is that's been able to bring Jimmy Dryden a little bit closer to him as well. So while these guys run 2x2, that pack behind him is starting to close up just that little extra bit. And as now it looks like Bud Steele finally able to complete that pass for that 4th spot.
Yeah, and it looks like David Payton washed up a little bit coming off the turn there, so he's going to lose this position to Anders Arhus, and now he's probably going to get a challenge from Jimmy Dryden.
Yeah, same thing now. David's able to grab back. We'll see if maybe he tries to do a crossover. Now, actually, as I say, yeah, he definitely does. He jumps back to the inside here in turn 3. But again, looks like Anders able to hold the momentum. Gets side off of 4, able to hang on to. That was close there.
That was.
But they're able to keep it together. But I say that's gonna. I think he probably had to roll out of it just a little bit. That's gonna give David another chance here through 1 and 2. So looks like David Payne's going to be like, what do I have to do to get some clean track around me and be able to run single file for a little bit? So I say he ran double file with Bud Steele for felt like 5-10 laps. He's now doing the exact same thing with that 10 of Anders Arhus here as they go through 1 and 2 once again side by side. Now just barely clears the 10, but you can see Anders already prepping, getting that draft here. We'll see if he tries to cross him over. If he does he go low? Does he go high? It's tight right now, but he's going to peak down low here. But now, say again, David's going to have the momentum on the top side through 3 and 4.
It's a great battle between those 2.
Yeah, these guys are having a really good fight right now. I think this might just be enough for Anders to complete the pass, but now we'll see. As I say, David, I think it's going to be just far enough back. I think this will allow Anders to hold onto that spot. So move Anders now up into that top 5 in that number 10 machine.
And I think, that probably does away with my theory that David Payton was, trying to be a little bit more conservative and save fuel, because he battled both of those last 2 guys so hard, Bud Steele and Anders Arhus, you don't do that if you're trying to save fuel. So I think he must be struggling right now.
Yeah, I think maybe just gotten that dirtier and just hasn't got the balance he needed, or like I said, maybe made an adjustment that just hasn't been able to get back where he wants it to be. However, though, Henry Bennett, he's been able to sneak away a little bit, Steve. He's about 7/10 of a second ahead of Craig. Craig now, however, and under all sorts of pressure now from Chad Wilkes in that third position. So say those two right now within a second of the lead here. So we'll have to keep an eye and see how these guys are able to do this. See if Chad can get around Craig. But again, we talk about that fuel window. We're on lap number 33. These guys can probably run again a little bit more, probably about another 5-6 laps. I would guess with that caution. But their pit window is going to be opening probably fairly shortly.
Chad Wilkes, a tremendous run on the outside of Craig Forsyth coming off of turn 2. And now they're side by side in 3 and 4. And they're both made it off next to each other. It looks like
I think momentum's going to work again, yeah. So say Chad being one not kind of commented he's not really familiar or not comfortable yet with the speedway package of these cars, but it looks like he's a very quick learner as he's going to jump up now into that second position. Again, really trying to kind of close down the ground after not having an ideal start to the season. And you could see, right there, you could see him as he kind of went from the top to the bottom. You saw the 27 Craig Forsyth just got really caught up in the aero wash, really slowed him on down. So now I'm going to watch the speeds between Henry and Chad here to see if Chad can close that gap at all. So he's within this about a second, which is definitely in the draft window. As right now, say the whole fielding sees they've all got about a second or so between them. Right now, the closest battle on track is right here. You got Jim Brooks, you got James Ledford, and you've got Alec Coates here, all battling right now, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Oh, you saw Alec with a big bobble there off of the 4.
Craig Forsyth just wrecked.
Oh no, Craig. Oh, as he gets another shot, say a couple cars involved in this one. Looks like I think that 77 might be the other one that took a shot from that one. Benjamin Combs. Yeah, Benjamin's in there as well. I see one more stop that is Alec Coates as well. I thought I saw Alec get a shot as well. Unfortunately, it looks like 3 cars caught up on this one here. And so this is going to be this. I think this is just about the window we were talking about, Steve, for who's going to make what decisions here. Let's go back and see what happened first, though. We'll jump back to that 27 of Craig Forsyth.
Tell you exactly what happened. He had an arrow push coming off of turn 4, and in order to catch it and keep from hitting the wall, he had to turn the steering wheel too far to the left, and that sent him off down towards the grass.
Yeah, just caught the grass with his left sides and almost hung on to it, but then you're right. Then he had to kind of do the same thing, crank it left again to keep it off the wall, and then just. Unfortunately, I say another little off-roading excursion. Unfortunately for him, though, it looks like not going to be able to keep it. So first has to unfortunately go through the pits, which will give you that unsafe pit entry exit, and I think just wasn't able to get it gathered back up here. Yeah, you can see it's sliding entering turn number 1.
That's a shame. Craig was having a really good race.
David Payton just squeezed by there. Oh, the 99. I don't know if he didn't hit him. I don't know how he didn't. But then I say you saw this shot there. From the 77 car, Jim Brooks barely snuck by, and then unfortunately Alec Coates not so lucky. So that's you see Benjamin. He got the hit from there, so he's gone around, and then we got to hunt down Alec Coates. And actually Alec had I think his incident was trying to avoid the 77, and then unfortunately again that transition on the banking that sent him around. But I think actually Alec just spun, so no damage to his car from what I can see. So maybe get away with it as well. And so say apologies to everybody who say missed the pit stops, but it was what we talked about, Steve. The Eric Schaus. Go ahead.
Look who didn't pit.
Yep, exactly. Eric Schaus and Charles Teed, they did not pit. They're going to restart here 1-2. We're going to be within 20 to go this next time around. So say right now they're going to be the only 2 kind of questionable on fuel. However, Henry Bennett, he's going to restart in 3rd position with fresh fuel, full of tires, or full of fresh tires, full of fuel, one of those words. And then Chad Wilkes going to restart behind him in 4th, and David Payton in 5th.
From what we saw earlier, this should really work out well for Eric Schaus, because he's in the Bud Steele position now of having maybe slightly more worn tires, but he's got a lower fuel load and he's got that clean air out front.
and he's, I think, all in it because he is rolling the apron again.
Yep, I'm surprised Charles isn't doing that too. Although I think he's got an extra lap or two of fuel.
I feel like Charles might have, I would say, at most, probably maybe an extra half gallon or so. I feel like, because again, a lot of these guys, they run that caution map under when they are riding under yellow like this. So it does save a ton of fuel. So let's say, I think Charles pitted, 2 laps later after Eric. So I think with those 2 laps, yeah, I think he probably could have been able to save just a little bit there. But yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see between the two of them. Again, depending on how the rest of this race goes, if either of them have enough to make it to the end. And now, can these guys with fresh tires and over 20 lap fresher tires, can they do anything with them?
And actually, it's 1 lap difference. I'm showing that Eric pitted on lap 56 and Charles pitted on lap 57. Considering the fact that Charles is not running down on the apron, I have to think that he's pretty confident he can make it to the end.
Yeah, I would kind of think the same thing as well as we get the 1 to green here. So we're going to restart this one with 18 to go, Steve. As I say, Eric's going to save every ounce that he can in that car. So right now, I say top 5 again. Top 2 did not pit: Eric Schaus, Charles Teed. Now it's going to bring the rest of those that pitted, though: Henry Bennett, Chad Wilkes, David Payton, 3rd through 5th. And then 6th through 10th, we've got Anders Arhus, Bud Steele, Jim Brooks, James Ledford. And again, Ivan Ply, he was a couple laps down earlier. He's back into the top 10. And actually, right now, other Eric and Chad, actually one of our highest climbers from the 18th position into the top 10. And Craig Forsyth is back out on track, Steve. Unfortunately, 3 laps down after the pit penalty and, of course, the tow.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, he was having such a good run.
Also, unfortunately, Benjamin Combs looks like Benjamin retired as well. He was having a pretty solid run there, so but unfortunately, not going to end the way he was hoping for. But restart here time, Steve. 18 to go. What can these guys do with the fresh tires? What can Eric do with that track position?
I think at this point, I'm most curious to see if Charles Teed can hang on in 2nd place.
Oh, Jim Brooks has a moment. They're getting up to speed, Steve. Looks like he's going to bring it down to the apron. So now the question is, can he hang on to it? Had to lock him down, but he does save it. Oh,
3 wide up front.
Oh, big 3 wide up front. Sorry, thank you for catching that, because we switched to it just at the moment. And Eric's able to hold on to it for the moment. Now, you're talking about if Charles would be able to do something with it. He is going for it here, Steve.
Oh, these guys are 18 laps to go, and it's go time.
Yeah, I think the sandbags have been released. So right now, Eric's gonna have to try to figure out where does he need to protect that car. Which line's gonna be the better lane to go right now? He's gonna hold the inside, which is gonna cause that 5 to wash up, as you see it right there. Chad Wilkes trying to squeeze between himself and the wall there, but now he's gonna have his hands full with that 007 Henry Bennett. I almost feel like Chad probably Eric would have been better off blocking the path of that 007 there off of turn number 2. So we're going to have 2x2 for the lead, 2x2 for 3rd with Chad Wilkes, Charles Teed. So Eric's going to have to hold that bottom for all he's worth, but right now the momentum at the line just inches ahead, I think, for Eric Schaus there, possibly at the line. But it is getting dicey up here, and a little bit further back as well. Looks like Chad Wilkes been able to grab that 3rd spot. Charles Teed starting to fall back a little bit. Unfortunate strategy not panning out for him thus far.
No, he's really struggling tonight.
So what this does, well, these guys fight side by side. This is going to bring Chad Wilkes and David Payton right back into this. So we'll have to keep an eye on them, see as they close that gap down, because, yeah, last time by, Chad Wilkes was 0.3 of a second quicker than these two running side by side.
Eric Schaus doing an incredible job holding on to the bottom down there and keeping ahead of Henry Bennett.
Yeah, this is going to be tight. This is where you have to really trust that guy you're next to. But on both sides, if you're Eric, you don't want Henry to squeeze you. If you're Henry, you don't want Eric to wash up in front of you. But what you're going to see every time here is Eric's going to definitely have to protect that inside line. But you mentioned, Steve, that 3rd line might come in here again, because Chad Wilkes eventually, he's going to get a big run. The question is going to be, where do you take it? As you see, actually, he gets a big arrow wash there off of turn number 4. Oh, a little bit of contact. Oh, contact worse. Say words are escaping me,
no.
but caution is out. Henry Bennett takes a big shot there. I think Chad Wilkes also. Oh, he gets another hit from Michael Spell. I think Bud Steele gets caught up in that one as well in that number 6 machine. So yeah, unfortunately, kind of the big one here at Charlotte towards the end of this one. Let's go back and see how this all happened. And I think they just kind of squeezed just a little bit on each other, Steve, and that's unfortunately just all it took.
Yeah, I think Eric Schaus was probably a little bit higher than Henry Bennett thought he was going to be, and it was one of those deals where they're trying to occupy the same spot.
Yeah, so actually, let me get a better angle there. You can't really see it from here.
It's very tricky on this front stretch with that double kink to go side by side and know exactly where that other car is and how they're taking the line that they're taking through the turn.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was actually one of the things I was talking about. Some of the drivers that was they were mentioning that exact thing. But yeah, so say it looked like Henry just about had it, but then as he entered one, the back end started to step out on him. Nothing he could do. And I think actually Chad Wilkes might get away with this, but unfortunately Henry Bennett, he takes a pretty big shot. And it looks like the 38 of David Payton as well. He gets a pretty hard hit here as well. Looks like Anders Arhus, he's able to sneak out from under it, but then you see Bud Steele just nowhere for him to go. Gets a little bit of contact there. And then just a little further back, that's too far back. So I'm trying to catch some of the other drivers that were involved in this one. There we go. The 99 was right by this as well. Jimmy Drynan. I think by here these guys are able to kind of settle out a little bit, so they're able to kind of pick their way through. But I just want to make sure they're able to all get through cleanly here. Because, yeah, it was actually pretty close for a couple of them there. The 75, the 5, and the 99 here. They all kind of just barely picked their way through. So, unfortunately, I say a few more drivers caught up in this one. Say Alec Coates actually looks like he had a bit of a close call as well. But I say there was further contact in the back, though. I think that was where we saw Michael Spell get into the back of him. Jim Brooks was able to pick his way through there. So, anyway, while we're looking at that, let's go back up front because I think that caution may have been the break that Eric needed to be able to maybe stretch that field numbers. It sounds like he was very close on fuel here. And it looks like on the pit stop side of things, Steve, pretty much everybody stayed out there. The only one that pitted was Dwight Plush in the 44, and of course those that were involved in the wreck, which right now a lot of drivers in the pits. So what this does actually, though, crazily enough, Steve, is this kind of gives Charles Teed a bit of a breather here. Say he wasn't having the race he wanted to, but with Matt Wagner not making the race tonight, and then now with Henry Bennett getting caught up in this incident, he's actually looking at extending this points lead as long as he can keep this car in one piece to the end.
Yeah, that definitely, I guess you could say that his struggling worked out well for him.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't fall back, I mean, he would have been right in the thick of that one. So, say, it, like I said, it actually kind of came, worked out well for him. And say, not obviously the way he wants to be. You know, he wants to be up there contending for that win tonight. But, say at the same time, you got to figure out what's the best approach for you for these races. So, now it's going to get interesting. Well, even more interesting, I should say, because now you're going to have Chad Wilkes. He's going to be up to second. Anders now in third. And then you got James Ledford, Jimmy Drynan fourth and fifth. So, and again, we talked about Ivan Plah. He's up to 7th now, Steve. That is plus 11 spots for him in that 75 car. But right now, Eric Schaus, he's from 14th to 1st. That's plus 13 for him and plus 9 for Chad Wilkes. So I say we talked about these races, big opportunities for some big gains, and we definitely have that going on again here tonight.
So Eric is going to be in the same situation he was on the last restart, which is he's got somebody extremely fast starting in well, Henry Bennett didn't start in second, he started in third, but he got by Charles Teed pretty quickly. And then you end up with the new tires and more fuel versus the older tires and less fuel. And I think, Chad Wilkes has been very fast. This is going to be probably as difficult a battle for Eric Schaus as he had with Henry Bennett.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And then we got a couple wild cards as well. Like I said, we haven't seen some of these guys towards the front of these races at the end of the races, like that 10 of Anders, the 40 of James Ledford, the 99 Jimmy Drynan. We've seen them all have pace, but unfortunately just haven't been able to put together the entire event here tonight. So, like I said, some of these guys may not know, like, okay, what kind of moves are they going to be able to pull here? Because, like I said, we saw the 3-wide earlier. And again, I mean, and this is all barring that Eric still can go to the end and feel. I mean, he could still be very tight. Again, these 2 cautions, a huge break for him. But he's going to have 7 to go on this restart, Steve, and he's already on 37 since his pit stop. So, I mean, that's 44 laps. So, I'll say he's a good saver, but we'll see.
I think he can make it.
Oh, is the accordion on that restart? So far, everybody's stable, stay off of one another. So that's the first, of course, thing you have to try to avoid on these restarts here with the Indy Series. But it looks like everybody's able to get through okay. So now it's going to be up to Chad Wilkes to close this gap back down to that number 72 of Eric Schaus here. As you can see, Eric already trying to snake around through the backstretch, break that draft.
And we've got Jimmy Dryden making a move on the outside of... Oh, no.
Oh, contact side in the background there. Yeah, so the 99 Jimmy Dryden is going to go around. Actually, somehow we stay green, Steve. So he's able to get that car looped back well enough, I guess. So we'll jump back up to the battle for the lead here because Chad Wilkes has closed the gap. You can see it's definitely right now all within range here. What that's done, though, is this kind of turned it into a 3-car race with Anders Aarhus starting to close the gap here as we're going to come across here for 5 more laps.
Yep, and you can see Eric Schaus is doing all kinds of stuff to try and break the draft.
Oh, and surprisingly, Eric gives up the bottom there. Didn't expect to see that, but actually he's able to hold the momentum. So I'm amazed he gave up the bottom there, Steve. I didn't expect to see that, but yeah, he's got just under full attack from Chad Wilkes here.
I was kind of surprised about that too, but I think he must have felt that he had enough momentum that Chad wasn't going to be able to get underneath him. Now we've got Chad Wilkes going to the outside, and he's going to have a little bit better momentum coming off the turn, and Eric protects the inside as he should.
And while this is all going on, Anders is right here watching this battle. So we're going to be coming around here next time by 3 to go. And man, that inside. Oh, actually, he's able to cross him over off of 4. He's going to 17 car is going to go low here in 3. We'll see if Chad can complete this pass in 1 and 2.
Now the question is, will Eric be able to get that position back with his older tires and lighter fuel?
Yeah, so it's all about momentum right now, and I think it's going to be tight between these two. We're going to cross here 2 to go. You see there about a half a car length between the two of them. And Anders is just waiting for his opportunity to make a move. Again, he's going to be stuck in the dirty air because these guys are both occupying basically the clean lines of the track, if you will. But yeah, these guys, if they get a little bit dicey, Anders could be here to try to snatch one out of a spot, or just try to time his run here perfectly and make a big move on this last lap. As we can get to this white flag, we're going to finish this one under green, which we will. Can Chad Wilkes hold off Eric Schaus for this final lap?
I'm wondering, what Eric can do to try and get past him. Chad Wilkes doing a great job protecting the inside. I think the best option here is if Eric can get a good enough run and cross over.
It's going to be tight at the line. You can see trying to get the momentum. Chad Wilkes going to win just by half a car length over Eric Schaus. Anders Aarhus, he's going to finish in 3rd position. Just couldn't find a way to get around the two of them. James Ledford going to grab 4th. Ivan Plav all the way back up to 15th from the 18th starting spot and 2 laps down. Alec Coates as well, Steve. He's going to recover all the way back up into that 6th position. So, but man, what a battle there between that 72 and the 17, those final few laps.
Yeah, that was an incredible battle. And for Eric Schaus to be able to do what he did with the older tires, I'm impressed.
So we'll keep an eye on Chad Wilkes. Went down the pit road. I was going to give him a hard time. Like, hey, you realize you won, right? You need to go celebrate. And I think he just realized that he's going to head back up onto the track here. They do some celebrating that 17 car. So he's been on a roll here this season, or I shouldn't say the season, these last few weeks. I should say on all the series, the Cup, the Super Speedway Cup, and now the Indy as well. Getting wins, and I believe all 3 seasons over the past couple of weeks here.
And I may be wrong, but is this going to be our first interview with Anders Aarhus? I'm not sure if he's had a top 3 this season.
I believe this will be our first interview with him, so looking forward to that as well. He's got mom watching, he's got some friends watching as well. So he's gonna we'll have to make sure he doesn't forget that, because don't want to get him in trouble in a top 3 finish here.
So he had a little extra motivation tonight.
Same pressure and motivation, but he was able to come through on both. So we'll jump back here and pick up that number 10 machine. Let's see if we can hunt him down here. Hopefully he's here on Discord. Don't see him yet. So what we will do, so if anybody's able to get a hold of him there, let him know he needs to get on Discord because we want to talk to him and get his top 3 finish interview. So we'll start though with the 72 of Eric Schaus. We'll get his thoughts for the end of that race here. But hopefully, we'll say want definitely pull in honors and get a chat with him in the top 3 interviews as well. So, say mom or friends or whoever, say feel free to harass him, get him in action. Now that I say that, I just see him popping in. But let's say we have Eric handy, so we'll grab Eric now and talk to him tonight. All right, Eric. So we saw Charles do that last pit stop. How confident were you about making it all the way to the end there? Did you need those couple of yellows to get there? Just take us through the strategy there at the end of the race.
Yeah, I figured we were going to be real close. At the point when I stayed out, I figured. No, actually, let me back it up one more. I think when we were pacing around and I was near the back, I was running map 5, and at the rate I was running, I had enough to make it to the end if we had no cautions at all. That caution coming out actually kind of messed me up because I was going to take the lead, which was going to make me burn map 1, so it was going to make it a lot tougher on me. So at that point, I needed 2 cautions. But had we not had the first caution, I could have either made it to the end, or if we had a very, very late caution, it would have been perfect for me.
Okay, yeah, and that's actually a really good point as well, Eric, is the fact that you have various maps you can use. Obviously, full rich, the caution one, but then you can run somewhere in the middle to do a little bit of both, really. So that's a really good point to make on that one. Say not something I would have thought about, to be honest with you. If it did go green all the way to the end there, which I'm sure that was kind of your goal there, how worried were you about some of those others that stayed out or did the same pit strategy of you, as well as Charles T, who kind of topped off on the one to go? Did you think they might have a little bit of an edge on you, or are you feeling pretty confident regardless?
No, I think I was fine. Just because once you are in front after about the first 5 laps, there's really not getting around people. There's no good way around anybody. So I figured anybody that pitted after me and got that extra splash of fuel, it didn't matter because if I was in front of them, there was no way for them to get around me.
Yeah, so it was obviously it was definitely not easy to make passes happen, and so you were kind of in the thick of it a couple of times. First with yourself and Henry, and then of course you and Chad Wilkes at the end there. How tense was that racing there for you, trying to either hold the bottom or kind of hold those guys on the bottom side, kind of hold them down a little bit to try to help your momentum. Just how stressful is that for you to try to do all that while still trying to make sure you kind of lose as minimal time as you can in the process?
Yeah, it was a little tricky. I mean, around lap 83, I think we went 3 wide. And at that point, I was just praying, hold the bottom with the clean air. Hopefully those guys on the outside wash up a little bit. I can keep that lead, which is what happened. And then Bennett was able to get to my outside. And at that point, it was kind of fighting for real estate. I wanted to get out as wide as I could. He wanted to push me down low. And unfortunately, we had contacted going through the tri-oval. But that's, I don't know. I think that's just racing there. I mean, we both want the same real estate. Unfortunately, he got the shorter end of that straw. And then with Chad, I was trying to hold the bottom line, but I also didn't really want to just slam the door on him every time we came out of the corner. So when he did finally get a nose under me, there wasn't much I could do. I was on much older tires. So he was able to just hold that bottom line and keep that momentum up.
Yeah, it was pretty wild there with you guys at the end, those last couple of runs at the end. And I'm saying actually that was one of the things I was going to ask about too, was kind of the fighting for the same real estate and all that. Like Charles and I were talking about that during practice with like a track like this, Charlotte, versus like the kind of the smoother ovals of like a Kansas or a Chicagoland. How big of a difference is it for you to like through that tri-oval section, because here it's like you kind of got those couple little sharp angles, if you will. To me, at least, it makes it feel like the track is way more narrow than it actually is to kind of just hit it just right. Was that something that you felt like would be maybe almost like an easier situation at a Chicagoland versus a Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte's real tricky with that tri-oval because the guy on the outside usually wants to turn in a little bit earlier, otherwise he gets thrown out into the wall. And then if you're on the inside, you want to take a slightly later turn just to smooth it out. And when you have those two different turning radiuses, it can result in incidents. So it can get tricky in there.
Yeah, it is, no matter what kind of car you're driving.
Yeah, yep.
Eric, I noticed that last lap when you were on the outside of Chad, I thought maybe you were going to try and get so much momentum on the outside that you try and cross over and pass them on the inside. But I was impressed to see that you actually were able to hold even with him and almost win it, staying on the outside. And I'm wondering if you're thinking in retrospect, had you tried to run him on the outside, do you think you might have been able to win it?
Well, I considered the crossover and trying to duck under him, but I figured with the old tires, the only line I could really hold flat out was kind of the second and a half groove up. And I figured the best I can do is just hold him down as low as I can safely for both of us to make it around. 'Cause I didn't want to wreck us there on the last lap. So I was just trying to hold him down as low as I could to kind of kill some of his speed and then keep me in that groove that I really wanted to. I maybe could have pushed him down a tiny bit more, but I think he was going to get me no matter what. So I'm happy with the second place and glad he got his win.
Yeah, I think, considering where you were for a good part of the race, ending up second on older tires is damn good. What was it like? Because I think you spent a lot of the race back in like 8th to 10th. What was it like back there with the aero push and stuff like that? I'm sure that affected your decision which was the right one, to go off cycle on your pit stops and just try and turn it into a fuel race.
Yeah, being behind people, there's no way. Once you're maybe 4/10, 5/10 behind somebody, it's really hard to close any gap beyond that without just completely destroying your tires. So you're really just pacing behind people at that point. So with that in mind, I knew I couldn't really pick up any track position on the track. I would have had to do it over strategy. And I saw early on that Bud had gone in, which I thought might have been an early, or not, he didn't go in, he stayed out. I thought that may have been a risky strategy, but then I started noticing that all of the cautions were coming around the same time. Everybody's tires were dying at about the same spot, and everybody was having that same problem of snap oversteer. So I figured as long as I have enough fuel to kind of make it to that tire window, then I can just stay out or run the opposite strategy of everybody else.
Well, so it definitely paid off for you tonight. So it got you in contention for that win, and so you're able to fight hard there at the end for it. So, I mean, that was an awesome fight between you and Chad, and of course you and Henry as well at the end. They're a lot of fun to be a part of. But definitely want to give you the floor though, Erica. Any thanks and chats you'd like to give for that result tonight?
Yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to my wife, who she's out of town right now, but I believe she was watching tonight. So hopefully she got a good show. Thanks to Area 51 for putting on the race, and yeah, I appreciate everybody out here racing. Thanks.
So I enjoy this one. So definitely going to help you on the points battle going into those playoffs, which we've been chatting about that as well. Say not too far away from those kicking off as well. So say I'm sure every little point's going to help you to close that gap. But yeah, so enjoy this one, Erica, and look forward to chatting with you soon.
Yeah, great job, Eric.
Thanks, guys.
All right, now we're going to go to that number 10 of Anders Arhus. So say we're able to catch him. Say mom and friends. Say they hunted him down. They weren't going to let him get away with an interview because when you've got viewers, you got some obligations, Steve. And so that's going to be that number 10 of saying. First off, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right because if not, I apologize for butchering it this whole time. Say make sure I got it right. Is it Anders Arhus? Is that correct?
You nailed it. I think you asked before the season, and you've nailed it ever since, as far as I've heard.
Yep.
All right, good to know. I always get second guess myself because that's one of those things. But all right, so first off, the backstory of this one, I'll say the paint scheme isn't related to being a Tequila Patron fan per se. Say that is going to be, I got to scroll back up here, a Seattle Sounders fan. And I kind of added on the fact that say the Seahawks also kind of got that kind of that bright green paint color on their stuff as well here. So I guess first assumption is going to be that you might be over in the Pacific Northwest or maybe grew up there. But first, I mean, congrats! I think it's the first podium at the Area 51. I mean, take us through your race here tonight.
Yeah, thanks. First podium. I got to do the shout outs first. I got to thank my mom, my dad, and my brother who are watching back in Seattle, and thank my girlfriend who is watching in the other room here in New York. We're out in the East Coast, and one of my former college professors who actually tuned in tonight. He's watching, so thank you, Nick. It was great. It was early on. It was so rough and dirty air, which I think we knew. We'd done a lot of practice, and that was pretty clear. But it took kind of those early runs to figure out where to get the weight jacker and that kind of stuff. And so I felt like early on I didn't have a lot of speed, and then I was kind of able to play with it throughout the race, and by the end, I felt like I had a really good speed to kind of work myself up the order. And then, I think I was sitting back there. I was pretty comfortable with where I was, and I actually was just going back and looking at it on lap 89. That big wreck that was unfortunate, but I don't know if you were able to see it from my onboard camera, but that was kind of a heart and mouth moment. But I was able to avoid that one, and then it was just pushing for the win. But also, I was pretty happy to finish on the podium.
Yeah, so you're definitely a close call for you. I think you're one of the first ones to get to the contact there with Eric, and after Eric and Henry, I should say, made contact. But yeah, I was saying it seemed like you were in a tough spot a lot of times where you'd be in like that third or so spot. Where and saying the guys in front of you, they'd be side by side, so you never had the clean air that you'd be needing to have, be it on the low line, be it on the top line. A few times we kind of saw you straddle the middle to try to just find anywhere to get some clean air on the front wing of that car. Was that kind of what you were having to do, is just to try to find any little bit of fresh air to kind of keep the throttle down at the end?
Yeah, you're spot on. It was like I said, it was tough, and just trying to find any lane in there, and especially at the end, the guys kept it really clean, which was great, but it was just there was no way through, and I didn't want to throw anything in there that would have been risky and wrecked it for all three of us. So, I peeked around, but like you said, it was tough, and it just with the dirty air, there was really nothing to be done there at the end.
Yeah, so you still put on an awesome show tonight. I think this is definitely the most vocal I've seen your fans here tonight. So I think you're gonna have to tell them to hang out more often, because it definitely seemed to propel you tonight. Because I mean, Steve and I have been talking since you've been on here, so you've had a lot of speed from the get go. Just unfortunately, the brakes haven't gone your way. To get that end result. So I'm sure it feels nice to kind of get that off your shoulder a little bit, maybe get a little bit of pressure off as well to start going after these ones a little bit more as the season kind of continues on here.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've only been on iRacing for a little over a year now, so it's just like a learning experience each and every race. I really want to run the IndyCar and a lot of the series and iRacing, so that was a big reason for joining this one, was to get a lot more oval experience. So, I mean, I've been putting in the practice throughout the week, but like you said, it's been a little bit frustrating in some of those earlier races where some stuff that was my fault, some that wasn't, but that's, like I said, all part of the learning. And I think the last two races, especially, it's really paid off. I was close in the last one and just ran out of tires. And I think I did a better job of managing everything today, and, finally paid off. So try and go get a win next time instead of just third.
And there's out of the tracks that you see coming up, what are the ones you feel like you're going to have the best shot at?
I feel pretty good on a lot of the road courses. So, I know we only have Sonoma left in the season, but I'm really looking forward to that one. And then actually, I've liked what I've ran at Texas. So I know that's farther down the line, but I think that's probably another spot where I would feel pretty good. And then actually, I haven't done a lot of Milwaukee, but I have liked the short ovals, and I felt like New Hampshire obviously was an unfortunate incident halfway through, but Phoenix, I thought I had great speed, and I think the short ovals gives you a lot more chance to kind of show off your driving ability, because it's the corners are so much more nuanced. So yeah, I would say those. I think Milwaukee, Sonoma, and Texas are the ones I'm really looking forward to.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing. I was kind of thinking Milwaukee might be one that's kind of in your wheelhouse as well. So it was one of we'll talk to Chad here soon. He was kind of feeling the same way with you being also one that that enjoys the road courses. The fact that the short ovals you kind of get a little bit of that road course kind of thrown in there a little bit as well, kind of having to hit your marks, get the gears that you need to do correctly to get the most speed and everything out of it. So I think, like I said, I think that definitely could be an interesting one as well. So obviously, the hard part is going to be finding a way through and getting that clean air on the nose of those cars, though.
Yeah, definitely. And the one other element I really like on the short ovals is, usually there's different lines, and you can do a lot more management of the tires. And I really enjoy the nuance of that. I mean, there's some wear with the weight jacker and stuff tonight, but it nothing like at Phoenix last week. So I think that added nuance is both fun and great experience. So can't wait till next week.
Yeah, so definitely a great job tonight. Like I said, fun to see you get the first podium here with Area 51. I said don't think we'll be seeing too far until you're able to pull off that first win. But yes, I definitely appreciate you being a part of this one. I say cool also, of course, to have all your supporters here this evening. So yeah, so say congrats again, Anders. Look forward to chatting with you here again soon, hopefully.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, they're here every week, so I appreciate them watching. It just makes it a little bit more fun. That is kind of a family thing we do. So I really do appreciate them.
Yeah, that's great. That definitely motivates you a little bit more when you know you have family and friends watching.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, great job tonight.
All right, Steve, that's going to leave one last person, and that's going to be that 17 of Chad Wilkes. Pull him up here. So say Chad going from 11th to 1st here tonight. Say kind of a slowly but steady. Say you really progress your way through the field throughout the race, and say got yourself in a good position towards the end. And then I'll say able to obviously then at the end be able to have that really good fight there with you and Eric at the end. Say you're just finally able to use those tires that look like just enough to be able to do that crossover and get underneath them off of 2, I believe it was. Actually, I don't know if it's 2 or 4 now. So I feel like it's been forever ago, but I mean that was a really good fight, Chad. I feel like it was just last week we were talking about you feel like you're still figuring out these speedway tracks. So I think we're going on the quick learner discussion here again.
Yeah, it was the move was off of 4. Yeah, I mean, I felt like throughout the race, I was like watching the cars ahead of me, and for whatever reason, I felt like I was the only car that could pass. I mean, I made all my gains on green flag runs, long green flag runs, because I'm really bad at cold tires on these ovals, on these fast ovals. So I was like terrified the first lap. So I couldn't get anything going on a restart. So I made all my passes kind of on the long green flag runs, and I just felt like I don't know, a lot of other people weren't able to do that. So I knew if I could get into the top 3 or 4, I could have a chance of winning. And it kind of worked out, obviously with Eric and Henry getting into it, and the mixed strategies and stuff kind of mixed things up, and I kind of got really lucky that I missed that wreck. So I don't know, it was fun. This is a super speedway, but you have to downshift and really you have to drive this track, and that's kind of anytime I feel like if we go to a track where you actually have to drive it. If I can figure out qualifying, which I'm still awful at, but if I feel like once it comes to race pace, anywhere where you have to actually use some throttle and downshift and things like that, I feel like I can have a chance of winning.
Yeah, so it definitely doesn't hurt your cause. Or go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
Were you downshifting to 5th gear in both turns, and what do you think you were doing differently than other people as far as adjustments and stuff like that?
Yeah, I played around early, like the first run with the weight jacker and stuff, and I don't know a ton. I mean, I got the gist of what the weight jacker does. Up makes it looser, down makes it tighter, or whatever, but I don't know a ton about it. So I played around with it, and it wasn't helpful at all. So I just put it back to 0 and just started driving. I was downshifting to 5th in traffic at times. As the tires wore off, I was downshifting to 4. And I think people were kind of getting, I don't know, they were like losing their arc into the corner as their tires wore off, and it was kind of messing them up. And I just felt like, regardless of where the car in front of me ran, I felt like I could always get half a wing out. And as long as I got half a wing out, I could pull up to them. And then if the car in front of me was behind somebody else, I felt like they would have dirty air. If I got a free wing out, I feel like, I don't know, for whatever reason, other people just weren't getting the same drive off the corner. They really weren't like getting a wing out in the air or something. And they were pushing really bad, especially off of 4. Everybody was really. And so I was just kind of able to keep taking advantage of it. And then like Eric, he didn't have any dirty air, but he was on older tires and he didn't have anybody towing in front of him on the straight. So, I kind of felt like I could get him on the outside. I passed on the outside earlier in the race and on the inside, but he was pushing pretty bad, and I was kind of scared to go on the outside, to be honest with you. So I just really wanted to set it up so that, I tried to take him deep into that 3 and 4 to get him to push up, and then, I'd use my tires to pull underneath him. But with these cars, it is all about finding a way to get a wing in clean air. It doesn't matter where it is, whatever line you think slower or faster. It doesn't matter. Get your wing in clean air, and you got a shot. And then the hill on number 4 was catching a lot of people on exit. People were getting snappy loose and having issues. And like when it comes to that stuff, that's the same as a stock car. Once you hit the hill, just straighten the wheel out. Like you've got to know when it's coming, and you've got to straighten the wheel before you get to the bump. And as long as you do that, you'll be fine. And so I was just kind of doing that, taking advantage of people.
So you're definitely able to. Oh, sorry, Steve. Keep stepping on you.
Is that from? Were you taking a later apex to be able to straighten the wheel out and keep her from pushing up into the wall?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, there were a lot of times I was actually taking a much earlier apex because, like, if we were 3 cars in a line, it felt like a lot of times the 2 cars in front of me were taking that same big arc down into the corner, and like the middle car would just be following the front car. If you do that, you're going to die. So a lot of times I would dive down and try to take an earlier apex just to, again, get that wing in clear air. And that's where I was getting my advantage because as long as you set your car up middle corner, you're going to have a chance to I don't know, like kind of figure out the exit as you throttle up and go, and start unwinding the wheel. You can kind of figure it out if you've really got the car set at the apex, wherever that ends up being. And so I just felt like a lot of people were just kind of taking the same line no matter what. And then I passed somebody on the outside too, where obviously I wasn't getting the apex at all, and I was just keeping that half a wing out on the outside, just running that one half lane up to just try to keep getting those runs off the exit. And these cars were already rotating on exit anyway, so it didn't matter if you were I felt like it didn't matter if I was pushing, especially off of 4, because the rear end was going to start coming anyway. So as soon as the rear end started coming, just a quick straighten of the wheel, and you could drive off.
Okay, that's very interesting because we noticed definitely at a number of points during the race that you were one of the fastest cars on the track, and you definitely seemed to be having a better time of making moves and getting past people. So it's interesting to hear um, your strategy and what you were doing with the gears and how you were taking the turns to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too, is gearing. Obviously, there are a lot of times where if you get any clear air, you don't actually have to let off the throttle. You can just downshift to 5th and use the engine brake and stay in the throttle the whole way, especially on the outside. So I was able to do that to get around the outside.
No, I mean, say you did exactly what you need to do. So I was going to mention here to you, Chad, is say I feel like March might be a good month for you with this series. I say so. Obviously, you got your first super speedway win, and I say that was actually on March 7th, and then of course able to get your Cup win at Watkins Glen on the 18th. Win again at Michigan on the 25th, and now tonight the 30th, getting your Indy win here. So. Say it seems like this has definitely been a pretty solid month for you with the Area 51 League, getting wins in all 3 seasons, or all 3 series, I should say.
Yeah, and I won Sebring on Saturday.
I was about to mention that as well. I was saying, yeah, congrats on winning the 12 hours of Sebring, and I was saying I think you said it was the 3rd split. So I mean that's a tough group of competition there.
Yeah, it's been that was the big one. I mean, I love winning here, but to be able to win that one that was pretty cool too. My team, we worked really hard at trying to get that win, so it was good to be able to get that win too. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like I kind of went into this season saying I was actually going to, do a little bit more than just showing up on Thursday nights and running the Cup Series. I mean, I really hadn't practiced Indy cars any throughout the week, except for the road course. I had to practice that. But other than that, I really haven't been practicing Indy cars, but I've been driving a lot. Like, been doing a lot of stock car practice. I've been racing in the Sunday night series. I've been doing a lot of racing and practicing with my endurance team and stuff. So I just feel like I'm driving more than I ever have. And I really made that a point to going into the season instead of just showing up with 15 minutes left in practice every race on Thursday nights and just racing, actually trying to see what I could do if I put in a little bit more time and try to get on here, throughout the week and just drive whatever it is. And I feel like I was always like in the mix and would win some races here or there or whatever, and always be able to finish high up in the points and be really consistently top 5 and have a lot of podiums and some wins. But I feel like, I'm getting that extra little bit now because I'm just kind of driving more throughout the week and really trying to put in a little bit of time when I wasn't really doing that before. So it seems to be working out. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm excited about Milwaukee next week. I feel like that's going to be a track I can do some things at. And yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, so you've been doing an awesome job all season long. Again, I say putting yourself in contention for a lot of these series for the season 7. So yeah, so you might be a busy man come playoff time. But yeah, I mean, congrats again though, Chad, and especially like you said, like you mentioned, congrats on the Sebring 12-hour win to you and your teammates. I mean, I know how huge those are. Just to even get to the end of those races, so to be able to win them is just huge. So hats off to you and your guys there on that one. Well earned for sure. And of course, though, I got to give you the floor here for your win tonight. For any thanks and shots you'd like to give for getting this win tonight on the Indy side of things.
Yep. Thanks to the league admins for putting all this stuff on. Thanks to y'all for the broadcast. Thanks to all the drivers who racing this. This has been a really clean year. It hasn't always been that way all the time, but for me anyway, it's been super clean, and all the drivers have been really respectful. The competition's ramped way up from when I raced raced this league in Indy cars at some point, last year during the summer or whatever. I raced some races, and the competition's ramped way up. More drivers, more good drivers, and it's a lot of fun. And so thanks to everybody involved for putting this stuff on. And again, thanks y'all for the broadcast. And I checked out the broadcast just a couple minutes ago before I got on the interview, and to have people, I think a lot of Anders people are watching and commenting in the chats and stuff. That's really cool. And that just kind of shows how important it is, how important y'all are to the league and everything. So I appreciate what y'all do too.
Yeah, so that means a lot. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, and like I said, I mean, it means a ton to us as well to have the kind of the back and forth with the fans and the family members and everything of the drivers and everything like that. It's just so much fun. I say it just adds that little bit extra to it as well. So yeah, so I definitely appreciate you guys being a part of this as well, putting on these awesome races for Steve and I to be able to broadcast. Because so honestly, you guys have you kind of make our jobs easy when you put on races like you do tonight.
Yeah. Tonight was a good one. I guess we crossed the finish line side by side. So anytime that's happening, and there really wasn't that many cautions for how tough this track was. So yeah, drivers did a great job.
Yeah, congrats again though, Chad. Enjoy it. Look forward to we'll catch you again on Thursday for the Cup side of things. And so yeah, enjoy the time a little bit, and then we'll see you soon.
Great win, Chad.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All right, Steve, that's our race winner 17 of Chad Wilkes. Say it's been a big week for him, like you mentioned. Say been getting some pretty big wins over the course of the past week or even month or so. However, we got to pull up our final results for the race tonight. So we saw Chad Wilkes able to hold off Eric Schaus. Only just under 300ths of a second between the two. Let me see there, 0.27. Anuzar, who's right behind them in third. Then you got James Ledford. We talked about him working some strategy and also some speed at the end. He grabs the home in fourth. Ivan Pla, I believe he was 2 laps down, Steve, early on. He's able to recover all the way back up into the top 5. Great job by Ivan. Alec Coates as well. He bounces back up into that 6th position. Charles Steed, not the night he wanted, but still a solid 7th place finish. Jim Brooks in 8th. Dwight Plush, same thing as him, a solid night for him in the 9th spot. Unfortunately, David Payton, 1 lap down in 10th. Does not show the speed he had tonight. Was definitely in contention in a lot of the race there. More so than he wasn't really. Just unfortunately got caught up at the wrong place at the wrong time on that last incident. And then the remainder of the top 18 here. Unfortunately, Henry Bennett, we saw that contact with him and Eric Schaus. Henry, also one of those that was definitely in contention there towards the end. Same goes for Bud Steele. He was up front there, just unfortunate strategy didn't quite pan out for him. With Craig Forsyth, we saw that unfortunate issue off of turn number 4, but won't be surprised to see Craig back in the mix here soon. And then Jimmy Dryden, we saw him towards the front, just didn't go to his plan or go to plan for him as well at the end. Then you got Michael Spell, Benjamin Combs, Gary Corley, and Todd Merkel rounding out the remaining finishers of tonight's event. So yeah, so that was an exciting one there, huh?
It was an incredibly exciting finish. I didn't think that, with Eric Schaus on his older tires, when he got stuck on the outside there, I didn't foresee that being such a close finish. He actually almost won it. And Chad, with his fresher tires, played everything perfectly at the end. It was a great win and a great run by him the entire race.
Yeah.
And one other thing, it was a tough night for our points contenders.
Yeah, it really was to say. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, Charles not able to completely capitalize like he would have liked to. I mean, he still finishes seventh. Let's say, but however, Henry finishes in 11th spot, 2 down. So I mean, doesn't lose a ton of positions from him. The one that's going to take the biggest hit, of course, Matt Wagner. Unfortunately, not able to make the race this evening. Like I said, I think he'll still be pretty secure in the point side. He's going to have to make sure he doesn't have any more missed races. Or he's going to have to also maximize his results in the ones that the ones remaining before the playoffs. That could really just kind of open the top 8 battle again. I mean, that could make things even tighter going into these final couple of races. So yeah, so there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on here for sure in these final races. Before I say this is the first season we've done the playoff format, so there's going to be a lot to learn as we go on here. And say for Chad, that's going to give him some, I believe, 5 bonus points if he can make that top 8 here as well. So that's obviously also can definitely go a long way for them.
Yeah, as well as Chad has been running lately, I don't see how he possibly misses out on the top 8.
I say don't put that evil on him though, Steve.
I don't know. Well, hopefully he's got some kind of, underwear thing going on like what Charles T did there for a while.
Well, for the sake of anybody in near proximity to him, hopefully nobody else is doing the underwear thing like Charles, because I don't think anybody else wants to be a part of that.
For people that don't know what that was, Charles T said that he had his lucky underwear and he wasn't changing them for as long as he was winning races.
Yeah, so luckily I don't think his wife unplugged his internet mid race for that 4th race at least. So let's say it was a nice approach by her not to do that to him. But no, yeah. In all seriousness though, yeah, I mean it's going to be exciting. It's like I said, we're going to have, like I said, top 8 are going to be going to the final 3 races. Then after that, we'll dwindle that down to 4 after the 2. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it shakes out. But say for now, Chad, he's going to enjoy that win. But a lot of these drivers are going to be watching that top 8 battle and see where they are in relation to it, to kind of see if they can feel a little bit more comfortable before it's all said and done.
Yep, and we've got some very difficult technical tracks coming up between now and when the playoffs start. So I suspect some of these guys are going to be putting in a lot more practice time between now and then.
Yeah, I would not doubt that at all, Steve. But say as always though, pleasure to do this with you. Say these guys say that, like I said, they make it easy for us putting on the races that they do. Again, congrats to everybody tonight. It was a lot of fun. Say it was really great also to see just how just active the chat was on YouTube as well. So for those that are watching, I say don't be shy. Feel free to chat with us. Any questions or commentary you might have that you want to relay over. I'll say I try to keep an eye on it during the race as well. So I really appreciate all of you as well. Say it's really, I mean, you guys are the ones that kind of make this worthwhile for us as well, because it's just a ton of fun to do. And say without the viewers, I think the Area 51 guys would be like, well, why are we putting this on? So thank you for being a part of it as well.
I second that.
All right, Steve. I think we covered everything for tonight, and then some most likely. But yeah, so of course, as always, if you can, guys, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and until Thursday, have a good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.